Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paddock Podcast. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Ronaldo Brown. How are we?
Not great.
That's honest, and I understand that. Why would you be great after a...
Oh, you want me to lie to you?
No, I don't want you to lie to me. Don't start lying. Let's not go down that route. Also, I feel like joining us, as always, I feel like saying that because you become a bit of a regular now, aren't you? Mr. Mark Critchley from The Athletic. How are we?
I'm good. Every other Athletic writer's a regular slot on here, so I thought I need one too. Come on.
Yeah, this is... No, he's right. Do you know what?
I have to do it live, though. Everybody else gets the edit.
Yeah, this is true, innit? Like...
I have to one take it.
What? You have to what?
Carl has like 5 pre-recorded shows at once because he's just so great and he talks about so much.
Yeah.
We struggled to keep it down, and then obviously Laurie's a regular with Inside United. But it's always good to chat to you, and I'm sorry we're not here in better circumstances.
No, I know. I get this job.
Yeah, you get this sort of. We were just talking there about how we don't seem to have had a really positive spell under Ruben Amorim. It feels like the new manager bounce didn't really happen. I feel like Ruud van Nistelrooy got that, and then obviously the first game under Amorim was the Ipswich game, which we drew, which wasn't really anything to shout about. We've had a few good results. Obviously, I'm not saying it's all been terrible because it hasn't, but we haven't had like a 3 or 4 game spell where you go, yeah, this is all looking great. You just had these little moments, and those moments at the minute seem few and far between. We are going to get into the manager. We're going to talk about him being under pressure. He's not had the vote of confidence from the board, but it feels like he's had a sort of a backing that isn't far off the dreaded vote of confidence. So make sure you're getting involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think. Because the debate on social media at the minute and from all the sort of journalists, a lot of journalists, is what is going on with Ruben Amorim, what is going on with INEOS' thoughts towards Ruben Amorim, and how secure is his job. Ronnie, you've had 24 hours. You've also launched your own channel now as well. I think we did a community post on Paddock. You can go and check it out there if you can't find it.
I know that's a shot at me. That.
It's not a shot. Do you know what it is, right?
Don't make me up.
It's free promotion.
Not a shot.
Don't make me up.
It's not. I went to do it and it had already been done, so I'm not bothered. It saved me a job. I literally went to do it and it had been done. So it's not a shot. You're part of the furniture. You can do what you want.
Do you know what? That was there for. It's been there for a while. Just never got around to doing it.
What is the name of the channel?
It's just my name.
Just Ronaldo Brown. What I love about Ronnie, right? It was the comment on one of the chat on one of the videos. It said, "Why does this guy call himself Ronaldo Brown?" It's like it's literally his name.
Yeah, I've got asked that a few times. Is Ronaldo your real name? I got that literally growing up.
Right. What was the reason for your mum and dad giving you that name?
I was born September '98, so it was just after
World Cup.
The '98 World Cup.
Right.
And my mum's my dad as well, but my mum's especially is a huge football fan.
Okay, cool.
So she had twins and named him Ronaldo and Rivaldo.
That is sick.
I've got a twin called Rivaldo.
That is sick. And what's your sister called?
Trezeguet. She was born 2006.
Wow. I mean, you've done well there. It's a good job your mum knows football as well, by the way, because you could have got
sort of past Trezeguet's peak. I wouldn't expect he was still having kids named after him in 2006.
Yeah, but if that's what I know, he's
just like the name.
Okay, the name's good, and also he's a decent footballer as well. And even after his sort of peak, you still look back at him and go, "Yeah, he was a good one."
Yeah,
could have been a lot worse.
I mean, like Carragher was getting Ballon d'Or nominations around that time, wasn't he? And you wouldn't want that, so.
Carragher Brown doesn't sound quite as good.
I know.
It could have been a lot worse. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Ronnie, I'll start with you. You've had a bit of time to process the Manchester derby. You've read the headlines this morning. Me and you've been chatting upstairs about everything that's going on. How safe do you feel Ruben Amorim's job is at the minute? Because all the noise is about what is going to happen with him. Is he going to be safe? I don't think he particularly... Choose my words carefully. I don't think he did himself many favours with his press conference. I still feel like people are looking at his press conferences and thinking he's a manager who's on the edge a little bit. And that's maybe not his fault, 'cause that's just the way he is. But I just feel that added to a bit of the noise as well. And I was chatting to one of your colleagues. I bumped into one of the lads from... I bumped into Sam Peets last night. I was chatting to him and chatting to him about the sort of what's going on. And every time I chat to a journalist, there's this similar feeling is that Ruben Amorim is a man who's slightly feeling it. What do you make of it all?
Do you know what? That's one of the elements that I've had a little bit of sympathy towards Amorim. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the amount of interviews he's had to conduct since he's become United manager. And I do think in football, which is such an emotional sport, I think it is quite a stressful role, especially for managers. I don't think it's a 24/7 job, mate. It's not one that you can really mentally switch off from, and it is one of those jobs that doesn't seem to have a huge amount of job security, especially when results week in, week out. I think it's spoken a bit more in the EFL, so like the Championship and League One, where we've got 46 game seasons, and it feels like managers are basically fighting for their jobs week in, week out. And I think after losses like that, and knowing that you're under pressure and the stress that comes with it, I think when you have to then conduct an interview straight after the games, it sometimes could be a little bit hard for the mask to slip a little bit, or you to probably voice a little bit more concerns that don't look that commendable when you're meant to be like a leader and someone that the fans are getting behind and the players are getting behind. But all things considered, do I think he's really safe? Probably, I don't think he is. I think when you are getting loads of briefs quite often about the boardroom backing the manager, etc., it usually is because a lot is going wrong on the pitch. And I think sometimes that can almost be ominous signs for like the eventuality seems to go into wars with the results. Obviously, it's 8 wins in 31 league games, so not one back-to-back games. It feels like if we have 1 or 2 good performances, it's usually followed by 1 or 2 subpar ones. There's no real consistency there. And I think the ones that are suffering the most, to be fair, are us, the fans. I think the United fans have gone through the absolute ringer over the past few years. And I feel like sometimes it can cause quite a bit of polarisation with people that are like backing a manager and people that are quite quick to like turn on the gaffer. And I think sometimes there needs to be a bit of nuance in between. But for me, I think I don't think he's as safe as INEOS have made out today in the announcement.
I think so. A couple of things on that. I think when he said yesterday about he's suffering more than the fans, I understood the point he was trying to get across. I didn't think it was the brightest thing to say, because you can read that a couple of ways, right? And there'll be fans who were on delayed coaches overnight back from Grimsby, I'm sure. I think I read somebody's tweet saying there was an overflowing toilet on one of them, and like,
can you think of anything worse?
Yeah, exactly.
Coming back from Grimsby, just watch your team get knocked out of the Carabao Cup.
Yeah,
it's probably about, I don't know. I don't even know how far Grimsby is. How far is it?
Well, it's the other side of the country, isn't it? It's on the East Coast, so
right.
I don't know.
However,
the breadth of the country, just call it that.
I've been on them coach trips before where it's just after a defeat and everyone's fed up and the beers ran out and everyone's kicking off and it's just the toilets overflowing. You just can imagine the mood on that particular journey. Yeah, I mean, sorry, it's just.
So I don't think that was that smart. He says these things though, and you're saying about him saying things in the heat of a moment after a game. He says these things on a Friday afternoon when he's had the whole week to think about it as well. I was sat there the other week when he's talking about, I hate my kids. And,
we were talking about this, how his kids caught some strays, and I think, I don't know if that's a good idea. You might have some questions to answer when you get home.
Exactly. And he said, I love my players, I hate my players. He said, I hate my kids. He never clarified whether he loved his kids or not. He just left that hanging there.
Right, I thought he sort of,
I hope he did.
He's getting something off his chest there.
I hope he did clarify it when he got home. But no, the bigger point here, yeah, of course, right. So his future, and you're right, we've had, there's these stories have been circulating. After Grimsby, there was the same thing. You know, he's still got the full support of the club hierarchy. We've had the same round of things today. Those reports come from questions being asked, and those questions are asked because results aren't good enough. It all stems from what happens on the pitch. I look at this next week now. It's the first week that United aren't playing. Other clubs are starting their European campaigns. They have midweek fixtures. Grimsby Town have a midweek fixture this week against Sheffield Wednesday in the Carabao Cup third round. Manchester United don't. There's this free midweek that he's had, that he's always wanted to work on in training. He said yesterday there's a lot of things he wants to see this week. There's a lot of things from the game itself that he wants to pick up with the players. It's what he's wanted, this situation. And from here on out, there's no margin for error though now. This is it. And I think going into that game against Chelsea on Saturday, if there's not a positive result, I was just saying, we were talking before we came on air, I can see next week being very noisy if there's not a positive result. And the worry then is that you walk into Brentford away, game that you would expect United to be winning, not on the past recent 10 months of games, given they only seem to be promoted sides, but you'd expect United to be winning. Brentford, a team that might be struggling at the bottom end of the league this year, and then Sunderland. And those are two games where if you don't get 6 points and you're going into an October international break, we know how things can accelerate in this media cycle when the results aren't going well. And it's not even just a media thing, right? I think plenty of people inside the club, outside the club, fans, players, whatever, they'll all have fair questions about the direction things are heading in at the minute.
Ronnie, I completely agree with that. And I think, look, I'm going to get in some comments in a minute because I think there's a bit of a debate going on amongst the fan base, and there'll always be a core group of fans who sort of you back the manager. There's plus people that understand the Messi inherited. They like him as a person, the way he comes across. He's quite well, comes across quite well, and they get it. But I don't think I don't criticise any fan who's had enough of this. I don't criticise any fan who's saying what is going on here. This isn't acceptable. Mm-hmm. I understand it because the record, finishing 15th, where he came in was it November? It's not like he came in March. So he had a big chunk of that season, losing the cup finals to Spurs, some of the defeats we had, and then going into this season and getting knocked out of Carabao Grimsby. That is bad. Like, there's no sugarcoating it. So I get why fans are sort of, some fans have had enough. Ronnie, what did you make of his comments yesterday? Ruben Amorim, he said that he was suffering more than the fans, he said, which, okay. And then he said he's promised to give everything and always act in the club's best interest. There's more quotes we'll get into in a minute. What, in those two in particular, what did you make of that?
I think suffering more from the fans. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about a fan base that have been suffering longer than he's been here. I think he's just talking from a personal standpoint of him knowing that he's struggling in the job. And this is the issue. Him saying comments like, I'm suffering more than the fans, and some of the comments he made was after the Grimsby game. I don't think it sounds like a man that thinks he can turn it around, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? I honestly believe it's gotten to the stage where INEOS's briefs about how they're backing him, it sounds like INEOS have a bigger sense of belief in him than he does of himself. And I've seen the report that apparently people close to him are surprised he's not under more pressure. Right. And I think that could emanate towards Ruben Amorim, where it's like, I thought he'd given up when I heard him speak after the Grimsby game.
I did. I agree.
If I'm being honest with you,
I thought he sounded like a man who.
But
he'd give it in.
He even said himself at the press conference after that we were just referencing about the kids and stuff when he wasn't bad mouthing his kids. He was saying that he has those moments. He'll have 10 minutes where he thinks, I'm not cut out for this. I want to quit. And then he has a conversation with himself, talks himself around, and he wants to do the job again. I think he's always had that. Doubt, if you want to call it, that seed of doubt in his mind about his capability to do the job. There was hints that he dropped last season. We don't need to go through the amount of times that he said that he would walk away.
So he'd walk away? Didn't he say walk away without his payout or something?
After the Europa League final, he said he'd walk away without a conversation about compensation. Now, you can take that two ways to mean I'm not taking any compensation, or we don't need to talk about it. The number's in my contract. Pay up, see you later. But either way, he clearly has entertained the thought of not being United manager quite a few times. I bet a lot of his predecessors have done exactly the same, let's be totally honest, and they just wouldn't admit it in a public setting in a press conference. And that is part of Amorim's...
David Moyes kind of admitted it when he got unveiled. He kind of went, right. Fergie came round and told me I was United manager. Me?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's doing it regularly, there's doing it on your first day. It's probably not going to do it on your first day.
Couldn't believe it.
Do you reckon it's a thing of when you're a United manager? It's similar sometimes when you become obviously a player for a big club. I think if you get the United job, it's a huge job. You have that type of ego thing where you feel like, can I be the guy to finally turn it around? But also, I think you get quite a healthy pay packet being United manager as well, which is obviously a good incentive. But also, even if you do fail, quite often United managers that are sacked, they still end up getting decent roles afterwards. I don't know.
Yeah, look, but
it's almost feel like a free hit almost.
I wouldn't call it a free hit because I think, well, look at the managers who've gone in and where have they gone. You could use the old Jose Mourinho thing about see where they play, how they play, if they play, what. But apply it to the managers and apply it to Jose Mourinho himself. Yeah. I know he works at some very prestigious clubs since then. He's always worked at prestigious clubs, but he's just been sacked out of Turkey, right? Ten Hag's lasted two games at Bayer Leverkusen.
With Jose, there was a downward sort of. Yeah. I know Spurs are a big club, not saying that, but they're not as big as Manchester United. Let's just be real. And then was it Roma, and then it was Turkey. Yeah. And now, and it's... So
with all due respect, it's not like anybody's failed at Manchester United and then gone on and had a bigger, better job. And I think, I remember before Ten Hag came, I was on another podcast and it was a little bit of uncertainty whether he was coming or not. And there was a few I's to dot and T's to cross about him actually joining. And I said something like, well, he's got to decide whether he actually wants the job. And the person on the podcast was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. It's United. Of course he's going to want the job. And I thought, yeah, but... let's all step back, look at the situation, look how it leaves people's careers and the mess that they get in and the insurmountable task that it is to turn this club around, apparently. There's a question. You would think twice, maybe. I'm not saying it's not a gimme.
I think you could ask yourself the question, where am I going to be in 3 or 4 years' time? Am I going to
You're probably not going to be at United.
Probably not going to be at United.
Yeah.
Is my reputation going to be better in 3 or 4 years' time than it is now? Am I going to be in a better job than I'm at now before I go to United? Like, where am I going to end up?
Yeah.
Now, there is an element of you back yourself and I'm the guy. Like Ronnie was saying, you have that ego, I can turn this around where other managers failed. But there might be a bit of realism that kicks in and goes, look, that club is just a mess. It's beyond almost fixing.
Look at the jobs that recent managers that have been sacked from United have gotten. Ten Hag's went and managed Leverkusen
for a week.
We're basically the Invincibles last season. Was it the season
before?
Yeah. Season before. Obviously, Leverkusen is quite a big club, and then Ollie's recently got the Besiktas job, which is a gigantic club in Turkey.
And lost it though, right?
And then lost it, and then you've
Didn't
got
him and Josie lose their jobs in the same
week. So there were 3 managers that lost the jobs in the same week.
Mourinho's had big jobs afterwards. I know he's a little bit different. He's a bit of an anomaly because he had big
his
cachet
reputation
beforehand.
was massive. 2 Champions Leagues, different clubs.
Then Ragnick gets the national, was it
Austria, which he had lined up already. I think didn't he have that
Yeah.
lined up? Well, not like when he was still at United. I think that was in the pipeline.
It's almost like failing at United doesn't really do much to your resume because the optics inside general football.
I think it's big, but what I mean is that I think none of them have really recovered from United from failing. I think they all sort of failed in different ways, right? They all left in the end not on their terms. None of them really recovered from it, and I just wonder whether that's something that any prospective future manager who might replace Ruben Amorim has to think about at this stage, because it is a repeated pattern. The Goldilocks thing would be to do a Klopp at Liverpool, I guess, is probably the best comparison, is to be there for as long as you want and then leave on your terms, having been quite successful, or Guardiola, as he will eventually. But very few managers get to do that, I suppose.
Go through some of the comments. Gary McKeo, 1979, says, Jay, Russell Martin, Ange sacked tactics. I think he's saying that they got sacked because of the tactics. Russell Martin was he a Wilcox appointment?
At Southampton, I believe so, yeah.
And he was one who stuck to his guns when they came up and were getting battered, and then
is true.
Got sacked
Another
because his tactics just weren't working in a different environment. Interesting. Hugh says 8 wins in 31 games should be the end of the debate. Nearly a full season's worth of evidence and no signs of improvement. Sirius says, what should happen before we say a manager is absolutely shit? Why fans still believe in manager
relegation
when he didn't show anything positive on the field? I mean, this is the problem we have. Me and you spoke about this, Ronnie, because we've defended Ruben Amorim. We stuck up for him, and it's when you defend Ruben Amorim, you stick up for him. A lot of it is hypotheticals. A lot of it is what you think he can do, what you think he could do, what you think he may do in the future. And a lot of people who are arguing that they've had enough of him is what he has done at United. That's the issue.
It's literally the best. Point. It's the best statement ever made on the whole Amorim manager discourse. It's just all the defense of him is always talking about hypotheticals, because possibilities in the future.
There's been no foundation, but there's been no foundation to build off, right? And you mentioned it at the top of the show, the wins, right? Someone made the point today. I think it was Samuel Lucas on the MEN that the wins have come almost like a couple. There's one in 2 in December, 1 in January, March, 1 in May, and then one against Burnley last week. It's like they've been drip fed throughout. So it's almost like teasing you in this little crumb trail that's like, okay, it's going to get better, better, and stringing it along. Whereas 31 points in 31 games, I was thinking yesterday, it's like you drew every game.
I think that's, to be fair, if you're going to win 8 games out of 31, I think the only way you do that and somehow survive is if you do it once a month.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like if he'd have won his first 8 games and lost, didn't win again for 23, he'd be gone.
It'd be really hard.
You know what it is? That's what happens. So the bar as standards have been set so low now, and the expectations have diminished so much that United can draw a game here, lose a game there, draw a game here, and then, or maybe even lose that game and then win one, and then it's the win that people hang on to as a bit of hope, and like, oh, see, we're all right now.
Yeah. And
then it's back to square one. You lose the next game and win, and it's the same cycle. And then people kind of cling on to maybe the one decent performance and one victory.
So what should they do? So what should they do if they beat Chelsea on Saturday? Not that anybody really expects it to happen.
Hope that we then go and beat Brentford after.
Yeah.
Same as we've done after every other win, right?
The thing is, like,
win games back to back. How about that? Do you know what I mean? In the Premier League,
it's been a while.
I think
that guy's still
that
in
lad
Stretford,
who's grown his
doesn't he?
hair, who's grown his hair to win 5 in a row. I don't think he's ever going to cut his hair again, to be honest with you. Tom Smith says, I don't want him sacked, but I can't find a reason why he should stay. And I can't see who'd replace him if we did. Tired of United now. Mohammed says, doesn't Iriola have a clause of 10 million? Benjamin Topping says, Joe cut his hair, I guess. He looks like Mark now. I mean, you're going to start hearing more and more of this if the results don't improve, like who the next manager could be. And I think when we look at previous managers at United and when they've gone, one of the big reasons that, say, for example, Louis van Gaal went, in my opinion, by all means you may disagree, was because Jose was there, was right there, and everyone knew it, and everyone wanted Jose. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people wanted Jose. Just won a title, won 2 Champions League, different clubs. Even though Van Gaal had won a lot of trophies, Jose was the sort of the more favoured choice. So Van Gaal finishing 5th in the FA Cup didn't save him. Doesn't feel like that at the minute where there's an obvious one out there. There's options. There's always going to be options. But it doesn't feel to me as though there's a manager where everyone goes, yeah, you've got to go and get him. And maybe that is helping.
I think that always dictates the manager market to some extent, is that if there's a ready-made successor, you can go and get them.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of big managers out of jobs, as you rightly say. I think Iraola is an interesting one. It would also be a bit of a pivot in terms of playing style, in terms of tactical ideas. I remember when he went in at Bournemouth, they struggled really quite a lot at the start, and then there was like a turning point. For some reason it sticks in my memory. Semenyo gave an interview after one game where they won 1-0. I think they hadn't won the first 8 or 9, and they just said it's just clicked. And from then on, it's been this story of really exceeding expectations. So you'd have to price in that kind of period at the start, probably, if you're going to appoint someone like him. Thing is, at United, you don't get that period, do you?
No.
When Amorim came in, I was quite happy to sit here and say, I think this is actually what United need. It's somebody who's going to stick to their guns and not waver, and he's going to enforce this on the squad. And I was ready to hold on to that opinion for a long, long time, and I feel like I've held on to it for a long time.
Bournemouth have done. Bournemouth have just hit two very important things at the same time. They've hit with the gaffer, but they've also hit with their recruitment policy. Their recruitment's probably been, like, people laud Brighton's as well, but Bournemouth have followed suit. Their recruitment over the last few years has been phenomenal. They lose players and they seem to replace them with similar quality. And it's also a situation where you got Dean Huijsen, who was at Juve, and they happily sold him for, was it 10-15 million? And then he's gone to Bournemouth under Iriola, become this great standout player, and got a £50 million move to Real Madrid. And then he's gone to Real Madrid and apparently struggled since he's gone there.
He got a red card at the weekend, didn't he? Everyone's saying. I think Real Madrid have put a complaint in, haven't they?
Apparently he's had a few dodgy games. I know Real Madrid, it's a bit of a step up. And then it's putting that question. Even Kirkes, he's had an iffy start against Liverpool as well. And then sometimes you're looking, is that another feather in Iriola's cap where he's able to then maximise players and make them look brilliant? And I think that's a huge part of management.
It's also the same thing as I'm talking about, is where like if Huijsen or Kirkes has a bad game for Bournemouth in those first 8-9 games, not everybody's on top of them. Whereas you are if you play for Real Madrid, Liverpool, or Manchester United. It's just different. The people want results quicker. We said the same the other day about Thomas Frank. Yeah, when he was playing for Brentford, everyone thought he was a decent gaffer. But if you look at some of their results, they'd have games where they'd lose 4-0, lose 2-0. No one would say anything because he's managing Brentford. Do you know what I mean? Even he started really badly at Brentford in the Championship. I remember like losing his first 9 or 10 games or something like that, and they just stood. Most managers would get sacked, right? But clubs at that level, they have the courage to do it differently, but they can also do it differently because there just isn't the spotlight on them in the same way. Glasner's another one. But I don't know.
Had a poor start.
I don't know if I could have another manager playing 3-4-3 and
you think that'd be a positive for him, wouldn't you?
We need to change the system. We need to change the manager.
We'll get to the system in a minute. Don't forget as well, we have launched new merchandise, Paddock merch. There's a link in the chat. Go and click on that link. Go and check it out. New line of Paddock merchandise.
How long has he got left on his contract?
I don't know off the top of my head.
2027. Amorim.
Amorim.
Okay, so that means next summer he's got 1 year left, and they're not going to let it run down. So there are big questions to be made because and to be asked, because if he makes it somehow to the end of the season, then INEOS haven't got a situation of, do we stick or twist? It's, do we give this manager another contract at that point?
Which was the issue with Ten Hag as well, because he reached that inflection point at the end of the FA Cup winning season where he was entering the final year of his contract, and after they'd messed him around so much, it was almost like, you need to give me a new contract to actually put your faith in me, apparently, down in writing. I think it's like 2027 feels a long way off at the minute, though, doesn't it?
Just on the tactics, because that's become a massive talking point. This 3-4-2-1 formation, Bruno Fernandes being played in basically that position. He was asked about it yesterday, Ruben Amorim, I think. Was it Ducker who asked him? I think it sounded like him to me.
Mike McGrath asked him specifically about the system. Ducker asked him about Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno. Right, and I thought I recognised Ducker's voice.
There you go.
He did seem a little bit annoyed, Amorim. Didn't he? Yeah, friends.
Recognise his voice.
But he got a bit aggy in the sense he was like,
Did
you watch the Arsenal game? Yeah. We went up against that midfield of Zubimendi, Declan Rice and Odegaard. Were you saying the midfield wasn't good enough then? So, I don't know, what do you make of this whole 3-4-2-1 formation and the Bruno question? We'll throw them two together.
Well, okay. Right, so the system, like I was saying to you before, I'm so bored of talking about the system, but I'm going to try and
carry on your board
and say something new.
Podcast.
Because in the answer yesterday, and I might be going crazy, he said, I'm not going to change my system. I will change the system if I want to. And you know that press conference we were talking about before, a couple of weeks ago, where the kids won? He references it as the kids won.
I hate the kids.
I hate the kids. There was an answer right at the end of that where he was asked about the system, because he'd said after Grimsby, the system isn't important. And so the question was, if the system's not important, why not just change it then?
Yeah.
Which is a fair question, right? And I've thought that myself sometimes. He gave this answer that it got completely glossed over because everything else in the press conference was so batshit crazy, but also enjoyable. But what he said was kind of contradictory in a lot of places. But he said the similar thing to what he said yesterday, which is that there could be one day where he wakes up and he decides that this system doesn't actually fit his idea of football anymore, and so he would change it. So it's not that he would never change it, it's if he wakes up on the wrong side of bed, wrong right side of bed one day, and decides that actually this isn't working anymore. Now, what conditions need to be met in order for him to have that realisation in this Damascene moment? I don't know, because you look at the results and 31 points in 31 games and everything you said before about the win ratio or whatever, you would expect you'd hit that point by now. But his argument has always been that he will not change just because of results. If he changes just because of results, that sends a message to the players that says, this guy doesn't believe in what he does. He's just reacting to things that, capricious things like results. And so we'd lose faith in him on that basis. But I don't think he'll change the system. I want it to be clear. But it's just interesting that he's dropping these bits about maybe one day I'll just wake up and change it, which I don't know if it's a departure from what he was saying last season, but he said it twice now. He said it before the Burnley game, and he sort of said it yesterday as well when he was saying, look, if I want to change it, I'll change it. So,
do you think? I think a lot of people conflate formation and system.
Agree, yeah. I think that's part of this thing and why it's so confusing as well.
Because everyone just thinks it's down to the 3-4-2-1 or whatever it is, but that's just basically a framework. System is obviously a little bit more intricate than that, and it's more because, for example, the same formation is played by Crystal Palace and Glasgow, but they play completely differently. So I know people didn't like the three at the back anyway, and I was always open to it because you've seen an element of success from some teams. You've seen Inter Milan succeed with it. I know that's a bit different. That's a 3-5-2. You saw a 3-4-3 be successful with Xabi Alonso at Bayern Leverkusen. You've seen Crystal Palace just win an FA Cup playing 3-4-2-1, which is the exact framework that United use. But it's more, I think it's just beyond that. I think it's the little like nuances between how you set up in and out of possession, where you put certain players, how you platform certain players, and it's just wrong at the moment. And I think it's hard to say it's not wrong because the proof's in the pudding, and the proof shows that United lose a lot more games than we win, and get outperformed in most games. So I think sometimes it comes down to a point where there has to be some sort of switch. And I know it's going to be October in a few weeks. I still think at this point now in the Premier League, you can almost get to a stage where if it goes on too long playing, where you're losing games here and there and dropping points, the season could be unsalvageable by November for United. And after the season we had last season, that would feel almost unforgivable.
Yeah. It is weird, some of the comments, like the interviews, when you're putting them out there, because it almost feels as though they contradict each other a lot.
Go on.
Like the system thing and the tactic, and I'll change it, because I want to talk about Kobe Mainoo in a minute. And that is another one that sort of, I think, can be quite contradictory, because at one minute, I think I was watching one interview where he said, Bruno, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, Kobe Mainoo will play, you know, it's either Bruno or Mainoo, basically.
I asked him that question after Fulham.
There you go.
Yeah,
and he said it's either it's one or the other. And then later on it might be the next interview, he said, well, they can both play together. But again, he said that...
They played together at Grimsby, I think, in midfield in the next game.
And then he said, like, but it's, you know...
maybe that was a special case when you listen to a
but he sort of said one, but then he sort of later on, I think after the Grimsby game, he might have been asked about it. And he said, no, I prefer it's either one or the other, or Mainoo plays in the Bruno role, or, you know, but then later on he said, but they can play together. So I just found that sometimes with his comments, it's... You know, we do it. We go through the papers every morning and look at you know, after a press conference or before the game when there's a press conference, and look at what he said. And it's almost like you could cherry pick what you wanted to make an argument for him saying one thing and another, because a lot of the time he'll say one sort of opinion, or this is what I believe, and then later on in the same press you might say, but like you just said there, you know, I might change my system.
I might wake up on the wrong side of the bed.
You see a lot of that.
I remember, because like I said, when I asked that question, I looked back over the answer and I'd like written the piece in the article. I was like, he says that it's either Bruno or Mainoo or not. And then I looked at the answer, he said, sometimes they can play together. I was like, well, what the hell does it mean?
So it just contradicts, isn't it? It's like...
I do think there's a thrust to the answer, that answer and the ones about his system, where he's not going to change. He's beaten us over the head with this answer that he's not going to change. So we have to believe it. But he is throwing these little bits in there that just contradict it. And maybe there's a certain set of conditions where Bruno and Mainoo play together, where you know, when you're 2-0 down to Grimsby, for example, or maybe he's just giving himself a way out if he does in some way change it. I think it's been pretty clear though that the direction he wants to go in is this system. Bruno's in midfield, because look, yesterday was the perfect opportunity to put Bruno back in the 10, right? Which I think he should do, but at this point, by the way, because you have Cunha out, and so you're missing one of your starting 10s. But when Cunha's back, when Mbumo's back, and if Šeško's up front, where does Bruno play apart from centre mid? If those are the four players that you've spent so much money on and he's your captain.
I just can't see that front three being any different than Mbumo, Cunha and Šeško eventually. Juan Martinez says, short memories, he didn't want to come then. New system, multiple injuries, no forwards, bomb squad, and we wanted to prioritise Europa. That's last season. Benjamin Toppin says, a good manager will always get the best out of players he has available. Crying for transfers constantly is not a good leadership style. Sweet George Boy says, Delict given captaincy, I feel he understands Amorim's ideas better than most, and from his position can order, demand more from his deeper position. And then, there's just, so Richard Kelly says, season is over and it's only September.
Well, that's it. Do you think it's actually over? Like Ronnie, you said there about the salvageable point. Like, I don't think we're at that point yet.
No, we're not at that point yet. But you never... I think it depends what United's aspirations are.
Yeah. Europe, I think.
Europe.
which is a lowering of the bar in itself. It always used to be Champions League.
I thought everything was in United's favour for Europe this season, is the fact that we've had a £200 million window. I think some people were still slightly underwhelmed by it because we didn't get a midfielder, including myself. But all our rivals that we're going to be challenging for European places have European football this season, where they're going to have to be balancing midweek games. Their squads are going to become a little bit more strained and probably going to be more susceptible to injuries. Yeah. And United have a campaign where we have a whole week's worth of training going into matches fresh, and we can put everything into the league campaign. And I thought that would give us an edge over the likes of probably people that were around us, like Spurs and Newcastle. See Villa already probably dropped out and struggling. But it's no good having that advantage, so to speak, if you don't make advantage of it. So the only saving grace we've got is European football hasn't started for these teams, and we'll see what effect that has on them. But from what we've seen so far, it's not made like a huge difference on our performance.
Well, I guess they've largely had the same schedule as everybody else in a minute. I just think, I don't know if, maybe you will, I don't know. Maybe, how much can you actually really deliver in 1 week's worth of training that you then see on a football pitch at a weekend? I don't know. We'll probably find out over the next few weeks. this is the set of circumstances that he's wanted. I'm wary of the club walking into the same position that it was in this time last year, when you're starting to have questions about how do we salvage this season? Is this season salvageable? Like I say, I don't think we're there yet. But once you get to that point, you walk into the same situation you were with Ten Hag, and then do you appoint a successor and give him the rest of a written off season where results go badly, and then you end up in the same spot that we're as we're in now next year? Do you give it to a caretaker and an interim and say, I argued for that at the time last year. I think in the hours after Ten Hag was sacked, and then it was like, they're going for Amorim. I was like, okay,
it wasn't long.
But I think that is an open debate now, because you can't make the same mistakes again.
No, I completely get where you're coming from. I mean, in many ways, this should be an opportunity for Amorim, this game against Chelsea, because you've got all week. I know you can't do loads in a week, but they've got a game.
Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean? They've got Bayern Munich away, which is a tough game, so they're going to probably play their strongest team. And they've, I know it's not the other side of the world, but they've got to travel. They've got to sort of focus on that for the next few days, and then focus on the United game. So you've got an opportunity, and also Chelsea is a scalp where if you do get a result, if you beat Sunderland or Burnley, people go, well, it's fucking Burnley. You should be beating Burnley. Yeah. And then people moan about the nature of the win, don't they? Go 97th minute.
I don't think it is seen as that.
No, I think Chelsea's different. I think the fans, if you get a win against Chelsea, will look at Chelsea game and go, okay, that's a good result. That's a good result against a decent team. Because Chelsea are in the Champions League. They've spent a shitload of money. They're in, I know it's only early doors, but they're in the top 5 already. I think fans would look at the Chelsea result if we beat them and go, a good result against a good team. I don't think that was the way people felt about Burnley. I don't think people thought that's a good result against a good team. People thought that's a good result against a team that's shit.
People were much more positive after Arsenal than they were after Burnley.
Yeah, because it was a good performance against a good team.
That's true.
And I'm not saying Chelsea are fucking amazing, they're not, but they're a decent team who are in the Champions League and have got some very good players. And I think if you get a result, and it's a big if, you'd get a bit more kudos for that than if you beat Sunderland, for example, who are a few games away. So it is a good opportunity for him now. Listen, if you fucking lose it, doesn't matter. But
Garnacho winner.
Yeah, don't. Can you
go and find a new club?
Imagine the meltdown. I'd have to come on social media for an hour. But I just feel like that's something I'd be looking at if I'm Amorim, going, look, we can fucking beat Chelsea. They're not unbeatable. They've got another game.
They didn't look great against Brentford the weekend.
This is a chance here now to try and get a fucking result against a good team, because since he's arrived, the results against good teams have been few and far between. There was the result that he had last season. There was the result against Arsenal in the FA Cup.
Anfield was
draw
okay,
at
wasn't
Anfield.
it?
Yeah. The Villa at the last game of the season.
Yeah, true.
Who obviously would say change the Champions League, but a lot of the good results came against shit.
Promoted teams.
Yeah,
Teams playing in the Championship now or last season.
Yeah.
So it's City, isn't it? He's beaten City, Everton, Fulham, and then there was Villa on the last day, and those are the 4 teams that have been in the Premier League this season and last that United have beaten in the past 10 months.
It's not great, is it? It's like, it's not much to sort of, if you're trying to convince people that you know.
Well, no, this is it, and like this is what we're saying. There's no foundation. There's nothing to actually believe in. And I thought it was a great point that you made about how it's hypotheticals.
Well, this is what me and him are always saying, because we've had it. Someone mentioned it, and it just stayed with us because that's all I've got, and I'm sticking up for him. I'm sticking up for him practically every week, and I haven't really got loads of evidence for that. I'm just saying, look at what he inherited. Look at what he's capable of. I think. Look at these new players coming in. Look at what they could do. Give him time, and I, hope and expect he can turn it around rather than I've seen the evidence.
And it's all, what also like compounds that a little bit is from what I've seen with that whole discourse of people that are like staunch defenders of the manager and like won't give him any type of accountability or criticism at all, compared to the people that do hold him accountable and do lay him a bit of criticism. It's people that do defend the manager seem to, like when you talk about how it's like hypotheticals that they latch onto rather than the evidence of what we're actually seeing, is that usually the defence or the arguments they make are quite personal. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Fake fan. Just a moaner. Yeah. Just impulsive. But they don't actually rebuttal anything that you've actually said.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas the other side will actually give evidence points of, this is what we're seeing, this is an issue, it needs to be better. Doesn't necessarily mean that we literally holding a banner up saying, Amorim out, kick him out now. Just we need to see, as fans, we need to see what's better. We need to see better than what we're seeing week in, week out. But usually the defence is just criticism and a little bit of insults, and that's all you ever receive.
This is what I'm on about. I can't really criticise fans that have had enough. I get it. Like
that is because you're normal. Do you know what I mean? It's just normal response.
I get when people say, you know what, finishing 15th, losing a cup final to Spurs, and then the following season getting knocked out of the Carabao Cup to Grimsby ain't good enough for me.
Probably not good enough.
I understand it.
Okay.
It's not like I'm going, oh, you spoilt bastard.
You won 8 games?
Yeah, that's usually what happens.
I get it.
8 league games.
It's just, maybe it's my default setting is to sort of get behind the manager and try and back him. But
which is commendable in a respect, and I understand why people
do it. But
I think
people have had enough.
This is funny because I don't think people were necessarily having these types of conversations until recently, maybe until yesterday, because it does feel, I don't know, maybe if I'm getting the wrong sense, but it feels like that, on the talk of the devils, they always call them the moderates, right? I think that moderate opinion of Amorim, people who weren't necessarily absolutely pro or anti, but were a bit on the fence, I think watching that yesterday, and it's seeing nothing change as well. I think that's it. You know, the absolute stubbornness not to change anything. Like I say, when he came in, I was all for it, and so I feel very hypocritical going against it now. But it's tough to keep seeing it and defend it, and to give it time without if there's nothing moving the other way. And I think that's the difference that's maybe been this weekend compared to others.
It hurts because it's a derby as well. Yeah, it does hurt. Also, as well, I think sort of last season, people go, last season, okay, it was a mess. He inherited it. Like, let's give him a clean slate almost. The Grimsby game was so bad that I think there was an element, not with everyone, but there's an element of these players should be ashamed of themselves. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of focus on them because it's like you can't even beat Grimsby when most of those players are first team or there and thereabouts. Like, that's not a manager's fault. There's some blame the manager, but there's a lot of fans who are just like, look, this is on the players. That's absolutely abysmal. But this time round, it's like you say, people are going, come on now.
It was the optics of Grimsby as well. I think, like, you're right. The whole tactics board thing and him hiding from the penalties, I think that probably put more of a focus on him than was necessary, because you're right. I think it was as much a case of players not necessarily being up for a rainy night.
Yeah, because you looked at that team and you thought, that's got to be good enough to beat Grimsby. And obviously, Onana had a bit of a stink. I'm going to get in some comments before we go to Wally of the Weeks. T-Man says, it's not that bad. Win the next 2 games and the table looks different. We're never as bad as we think, and we're also never as good as we think. Akash K says, there was a reason we wanted a wing-back and a midfielder once we got Cunha over the line. We needed goals, yes, but midfield is a contentious issue. Benjamin Toppin says, a good manager... Oh, no, sorry, I've read that. Radius says, possible we were premature, that Pep was finished. Possibly. Until United Till I Die says, it can work in the Premier 3-4-3 if you have players for those positions. He doesn't yet persist with this terrible structure. Ronnie, Wally of the Week time. Who's your Wally of the Week?
Hannibal Medbury.
Oh, that's such a good shout. Oh, that's such a good shout. That
I haven't seen it because I was at the game yesterday.
It's just he's not done it intentionally. It's just been a lapse, and it's just unfortunate. But he's just let Liverpool get away with conning another win. I think they've conned all 4 wins, to be honest. I don't know how sustainable that is, but Hannibal has to be Wally of the Week for giving that away, that penalty away. Liverpool last second, and giving Salah another goal involvement, having played poor all 4 games.
Yeah, that is a decent shout out, Hannibal, man.
I did like Hannibal though, like that cameo at Anfield when he was just kicking everybody.
It was weird with Hannibal because there's that cameo at Anfield where everyone loved him. Then there was a game, was it Bournemouth or Brighton? I think it's Brighton.
Scored against Brighton, yeah. Yeah,
where he came on, he scored, and Ericsson and I was like, he's the kind of player we want and we need at this club.
Didn't play him again.
Yeah. What?
Okay.
Like, fair enough if that's what you think, but like, it was really weird, wasn't it? He was like, that was the end of his United career. Because I think he was too crazy, wasn't he? Hannibal Medbury. Who's your...
Man, you got to give me more preparation for this.
Sorry.
I don't know. Can I just say like Donald Trump or Keir Starmer?
You can be political on this.
I'm not. I don't want to be political. I'm actually not allowed to be political in my job. Like,
sorry. I mean,
I was trying to cover all bases there as well.
Can you say any politician?
I was just trying to say somebody that everybody were getting bored with. You can just clearly not.
That's the worst United pick.
Yeah,
United.
Manchester United Football Club. Do you know what? Wally of the Week, I'll go with myself, right? Because I sat here with my chest out saying United were going to beat Manchester City. And after half an hour, I realised the error of my ways. It was...
Nicole did the same, didn't he?
He does everything. Yeah. Don't worry about that. He doesn't count. He does everything. You know what I mean? If he played him against tomorrow, he'd say the same thing. I dropped the ball on that one, and I should have known better. Should have known better. I was so confident. I didn't learn anything from Bilbao. I didn't learn anything from that cup final against
Grimsby.
Spurs. Oh, Grimsby.
I mean,
yeah.
that was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, mate, I need to start predicting losses. Be quids in. Mark, always a pleasure. Great having you on the channel.
Thank you.
Go and check out Mark's writing on The Athletic. He's actually been doing a bit lately, isn't it?
I was off last week, so you haven't been keeping track.
For your standards, though, that's like, at least you were off.
You got me there, yeah.
But go and check him out. Always good stuff on The Athletic. Ronnie, you've got a new channel as well. Yeah, you can go and check that on our community post.
I'm still embarrassed. I don't know.
I mean, don't lie, he's embarrassed. Do you know what I mean? Go and check him out. Always good stuff. Always very honest, as always. That's been Ronaldo Brown. That's been Mark Critchley. I'm Jay Motti. This has been the Paddock Podcast. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.